calling a roll.
Councilwoman Spence Bennett. Here. Councilman Schweitzer. Councilman Thompson.
Here. Public comment? Do you have any public comment? We get any emails, Calissa? Hearing none, we'll move to communications from elected officials, other officials, or agencies of the county. Hearing none, we'll start on the request of council. ROC 20-025 E911, additional appropriation for contractual services. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. If it's not changed. Okay.
All right, Vicki. Go ahead, Vicki.
Okay, I was asking for an additional appropriation to cover the remaining contractual services that we had for this year. We have been trying to go through since I took over and make an annual assumption of what we need. There's been some things that we are having to pay this year, things that have increased that we weren't aware of. That was implemented, one such thing being locution that was implemented last year, and we now have a yearly maintenance fee for that. The Solacom and digital was also a maintenance fee that we had to come to council last year and include in and then we've had several different things that we've had to cover due to the malware and the additional things last year that we were behind when we started off this year with our budget. Things we had to pay for last year, you know, when we get the money back from the insurance, it doesn't go back into our account, it goes back into the fund. So we started out behind this year. So they have the papers, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, so the additional appropriations is for these 4 bills that are still due this year that we need to cover. You can tell them about yours. We have included in that a list of everything that we've paid so far this year. And we had the extra things that we pay for out of this fund that were due in 2019 to kind of break it down on where the money went.
That's what all this is, correct?
Yeah, the second one is from the 911 fund. The third piece of paper is what I've come up with, that is a yearly annual maintenance fees and what month they're due, how much they are. So this will be for next year, that I've put together for next year.
Okay. Councilwoman Spence Benet, you have any questions?
So thank you, Vicki, for this additional documentation. I really like this. So I was in these meetings. I should know the answer to this question already. Have all of these that were not previously accounted for been accounted for in the budget for next year?
Yes.
Okay. So we should, from here forward, we
Yeah.
should be good in
And-
terms of at least including these
And
at the
that's
right
why I gave
levels.
you the list of when they're due, what month, and how much they are.
Okay, but this is, these things that have not previously been included are now in a budget up through this year because of some past history will be included from here forward.
Yes, we
because
included
you've got
them in
you're
next
clear
year's
on the
budget.
schedule. Okay, okay. Let's see, I think that's my only question about this one. And I'm sorry, just to confirm, you had noted that these were things that were implemented by a previous director. They are certainly things, you wouldn't be here otherwise, but just to ask the obvious question, they are certainly things that you all want or need to continue.
Yeah,
You
the
can't continue
locution,
without them.
that's our automated fire dispatching system. And that was started out under the previous director. We finished it up, installing it and getting it operational. And now this year, we have the maintenance fees, which I was not privy to how much that was gonna be in the past.
Okay, so that one went from implementation costs to this is the first year of maintenance.
Yes.
Okay, got it. Yep, that's it, Councilman Thompson, thank you.
I don't have anything. Would you like to make a motion?
Sure, I move that we, I make a motion that we move ROC 20-025, additional appropriation for contractual services to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
I will second. Motion by Councilwoman Spence Bennett and second by Councilman Thompson. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Moves to full council with a favorable recommendation.
Okay.
ROC 20-027 911 LI or lit dedicated to PSAP, additional appropriation for new equipment.
Yes. That is for the purchase of new consoles for dispatch. We have not had any new consoles or any upgrades since we first combined in 2000. Well, we came over at the end of 2006. We became county employees in 2007. And we use our chairs, our consoles 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So they are 13 years old now, and they're basically at the end of life. I mean, they're breaking down, they're welded in place. We can't raise the workstations anymore. And I submitted one quote that I got from Zybex Corporation. And I had another company, Evans, they came in last Friday, but I have not received anything. It was a week ago, last Friday. I have not received anything from them yet on their quote for this.
What was their quote? 91,000?
Yes.
91,591.
Yes, and that was with the discounted price. And that was with the HGAC program, which is a government program that you can apply for, and they give you discounted price, which I have sent over to the county attorney to check out and see what he thinks about it. Otherwise, do you have that quote there?
I've got,
This one? Yeah.
Yeah.
The other
Yeah.
is like 140,
47.
47,000. That's full price.
Oh, so this is the discounted through that program?
Yes,
Okay, and Mr. Wright is looking at that to see if it's a valid program that we
Yes.
can use.
Councilwoman Spence Burnett, questions?
Okay. What kind of specifications did you provide to these companies in terms of what you wanted?
they come in and measure everything. I told them that it had to be something that could be moved in the future, since we are not sure where we're gonna be or if we're gonna be in the same place or not. So I did not want anything that was affixed in one position down there. It had to be able to be broken apart and moved somewhere else, reconfigured to another space. And then just, just the basics with one cabinet for our paperwork and pens and things like that. It has to be able to hold 3 computers
Okay,
in there, and then we have 6 monitors
okay. At each station?
at each station. We have 6 stations.
Okay. Did they give you an idea of sort of where these workstations rank in terms of their line of these things? And let me just be very specific. So, one thing that caught my eye was the personal climate control.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us about that as a requirement for these workstations?
It's not a requirement, but now it's, they can turn a fan on, and it's at each individual station. Right now, we buy heaters to go under each desk, which therefore we have to use power cords, which, and fans to turn on. Some people want them, some people don't. So you turn a fan on and it's blowing across the room, and then some people doesn't like it. So that was why I had them include that. It's not
Okay,
anything that is mandatory,
okay.
but just to get rid of the excess sitting around on the floors in dispatch.
Do you have any information about, how reliable that piece is? Is it are you gonna be running it for 2 months and it's gonna stop working and it's never gonna work again? And did they give you any information on how reliable that feature is over time?
No. The second person I went through is Evans, and he told me that they do have like a lifetime warranty on their furniture. I don't know how expensive it is, since I don't have the quote on that yet. And basically, I told him the same thing with the same features. We can add on or take off any of these features that, you don't feel is necessary. So this is just a base point to start off with, and then we can go from there.
Okay. All right, but, and my actual, that was an example, but do you have any information on whether there's a less expensive option that would still, sometimes you have like a, deluxe versus a standard kind of a
Right.
model. Do you know anything about their product line that would suggest where these fit in with?
No, I
Okay.
can write her and find that out about what their warranty is, because their warranty on their products and services. Both companies are willing to come in and set up and take away the old furniture. Of course, there's an additional charge for that. However, I wasn't sure, I didn't have them quote that, because I'm not sure if we wanted to use that furniture. We have an additional, like a backup center somewhere. maybe we could repurpose it or something there.
Okay. But there would be a charge for setup, or that's included?
Take away the furniture.
Takeaway is the only thing that's got the
Yeah.
extra charge, okay. Okay. Yes, I would, by the time this comes to council,
Mhm.
I think I'd be interested, obviously, there's another quote.
Mhm.
I'd be interested in seeing that warranty information that you mentioned, that's a great idea. And then, maybe just to understand if there's where this fits in their total offerings. And I know you wouldn't have just arbitrarily asked for, give me the Cadillac kind of a
Right.
thing, but just some perspective on what other offerings, if any,
Yeah.
they have that suit your needs. Because I realize that you might not have a lot of variety
Mhm.
in how this stuff, because it's just so special purpose.
Yes.
So, okay, if that seems reasonable
Yes.
to
I
bring
can
to
get
us.
that.
Okay. And then you and I talked a little bit about this, I think the last time we had a meeting. And I'm sorry didn't you have a board meeting last week? Was
Yes.
there? Okay, and I apologize for not being able to make that. I had a meeting on campus. But Ms. Oster, is this a part of are you developing, you and I talked a little bit about this, a plan for the whole operation? And your capital needs and just kind of what the operation is going to take to function over time and to expand or to, accomplish your goals over time that might fit in with especially with the Fund 1235 and the,
Yes,
that
we,
lit PSAP.
we have, and we had given the 911 Advisory Board a copy of the proposal, and I can forward that to Alyssa. She can get that to you guys, which entails a redundancy program for 911, having different locations run simultaneously. So if we have another attack, we won't lose days, or it won't take us days to get things back up and running. It also includes fiber lines, a circuit, if you will, that would go from EMA to dispatch to the new jail when it gets up and running. So we can have different sites. EMA is where our backup dispatch center is. And new radio systems. Last year I put in for the budget to purchase 3 new radios, which is at end of life. So I have 3 of those radios now that I'm just waiting for them to come in to be installed, because we've already put that in the budget for this year.
Okay.
But there's a total of approximately 8 radios that are nearing end of life. Motorola has, we've spoken to them about their program and how they come in and cover. Before, it wasn't offered to us last time we purchased radios, but now they've come up with a program where you pay them so much up front and they break the cost down, but they will come in every 2 years and update new software. We have the whole proposal, and I'd be more than happy to bring that before the council or give you a copy of what we have. We can definitely forward that to you.
Sure.
But it's all around,
So
it's,
just just looking forward and where you want to go with business continuity and disaster recovery and some things that kind of harden
yes.
your capabilities, keep you alive under certain disaster circumstances, those kinds of things, so to
Yes.
speak, or your operation
One
running.
part is that, we have a tower at WTHI. We use that tower of theirs to help with our radio system. It's pretty much center of town. It's like one of the higher towers, so it provides good coverage. In our ISO rating, which is for the fire departments, the higher your rating you get with ISO, the better your fire grades are
Oh.
for your community.
Mhm.
And so we did better this year, but one of the things that we got taken off for is we have no secondary on that tower at WTHI. We have no secondary line. And it is like if you will, like a landline out there. So
Uh-huh.
if it gets cut, we have no,
Mhm.
and we don't know it
Mhm.
because there's no notification on it.
Okay.
And so that's one of the features. So it's just different things like
Yeah,
that
sure.
that we have looked at that might in the future will probably need to be addressed.
I think that would be good if you don't mind sending that to Calissa just for the whole council to have as background, because this
Sure.
fits into how you want to move your operation forward. So I
Sure.
think that all that sounds great. So, okay. Thank you. Thank
You're
you for that
welcome.
little taste of what you've got in there.
You're welcome.
That's all.
Can the equipment that's down there now, can it be used at EMA?
You know,
Or is it
the
not any
office
better?
that we have down there is very small. They were talking about, in the 911 advisory budget meeting about maybe it could be used like somewhere else if we got a backup center somewhere else. So I'm just, keeping that in the back of my mind. I don't know if we're, it's kind of uncertain where we're gonna be right now or what's gonna happen. So I just don't want to say, come in and take this away and get rid of it, and then we find a use for it, somewhere else.
Of course. Is it Zybex? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yes, Zybex, and I believe they are the ones that she mentioned something about that might be doing the furniture for the new jail. Zybex company,
And who'd you say the other one was? Was it Evans?
Evans.
Who is Eaton? Is it
Eaton. Oh, I'm sorry, Eaton. I'm sorry.
is that who it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So those are the two. Eaton.
Yes.
Do you know when their estimate will be back, or are they not going to turn one in?
Yes, they will, but he just hasn't gotten it to me yet. They have to take a diagram and get it to their architectural staff so they can kind of draw a diagram of the room and then lay it out on how it will work best.
Okay.
Can I ask one
You
more
have anything
question?
further? Yes.
Well, I just, I'm sorry, Ms. Oster, you just sparked. If there's a decision by the county sometime in the future to move your operation, are these workstations pretty standard for how you need to operate?
Yes.
So it's not like we would find ourselves having purchased this equipment for a space you happen to have, and then you're moved somewhere and the space is totally different, and even though these are movable, they're not going to fit.
Right. And that's
You-
one
you
thing I
have-
told them, they have to be configurable to a new
Okay.
space because
Okay.
I can't
Okay.
tell where I can't tell them where it's gonna be, and I know
Okay.
that's a challenge, but they definitely have to be standalone where we can move them, and as long as I have an open space like we have now in dispatch, they're pretty adjustable to that area.
Okay. I thought movable was, it's
Oh,
not,
like
it's not
turn it-
welded
yeah,
down like
I'm
you're
sorry.
talking about, and I didn't think about that being, it can be somewhat reconfigured. So
Yes,
thank
I'm
you for
sorry.
that. Okay. No, that's my, not asking that question. Okay, thank you, sorry.
I have nothing further.
Neither do I.
Would you like?
Yes,
Sure.
question.
Whoops.
Vicky, when I was talking to you, it's probably been 2-3 weeks ago now about this, and
Mhm.
at that time you had not had the opportunity to go through and see if there was anything in here that was not maybe desirable.
Mhm.
They had kind of added extras.
Yes.
Have you had an opportunity to look through it and see if
What I was wanting to do is wait on the second proposal and kind of compare and see what one had on and one did not, or how much one cost and one, and, as far as extra tables, I mean, they have stuff in there like a break room workstation and filing cabinets. We don't need those. We have no need for those. I'm strictly talking about the workstation. So I looked for that figure to be a little less than what it is on that quote in the first place. We have filing cabinets, we have bookshelves, we don't need any of that.
But that's in these numbers.
I believe there's some filing cabinets and
Okay.
a bookshelf on there, yes.
Okay, okay.
Is that something you can go through still?
Yes, and that's why I wanted to wait on the second proposal so I could like go through them and compare. Like, yes, we need this, no, we don't need this. See. And, I think it was a week last Friday that he came in, so I was hoping that I would have that he would get it back to me, but, you know, before I came here today.
How would you like to proceed?
Well, it's going to be less, but, you know, I feel like we would move this to council not with a favorable recommendation because we haven't seen the whole picture. And then we just have to have the conversation there. I guess the option would be to say we would like to see this again when there's a more complete picture of the information with 2 quotes and some warranty information and some of that.
Do you expect to have the other quote back before the council meeting?
Next month,
Yeah, what is it? Is it the?
The 8th,
September
September 8th.
I would hope so, and I can reach out to him and find out where they are on that.
Could we, just discussing, could we move it with no recommendation pending the receipt of additional information and discussion at the council meeting in September? Is that,
I think we can.
okay,
Is that what you like?
sure. All right, so, I make a motion that we move ROC 20-027, additional appropriation for new equipment, to the full council with no recommendation pending receipt of additional information.
Okay. I will second. With no further discussion, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? All right. The full council will hear this with no recommendation at the next county council meeting.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Next on the list is ROC 20-026, Juvenile Justice Center, additional appropriation for institutional supplies. Thank you. Director Loudermilk.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Budget Adjustment Committee, Norman Loudermilk, I'm the Executive Director of the Vibe County Juvenile Center. I sent you a letter that outlines this appropriation. It's from a newly created non-reverting fund, which captures revenue that we obtain from out-of-county detainees. And then that money is held in a fund, and then we'd like to use some of it. The money that we're going to be using, we're asking for $10,000 right now to replace some of the clothing that the detainees wear. Most of the clothing we have is pretty worn and tattered. I attached photographs with the letters that you have that shows the towels aren't very white, and so we'd like to purchase some different towels that are colored, and obviously that we found a vendor that can give them to us a little bit cheaper than we've been purchasing in the past. There's also been new standards put out by the Department of Corrections with compliance standards whenever we have a PE or recreation time, that there's supposed to be a, quote, freshening up period where certain hygiene items, towels, washcloths, things like that are given to detainees for them to have a chance to freshen up. We weren't doing that. That's just a new standard, so that obviously increased the amount of towels we use, and also we decided to get some shorts and t-shirts for them so they could use that for like PE clothes, so they could have those to change in and out of before and after PE to help meet those standards. So this request of 10 grand should be enough to cover a good majority, if not all, of the towels and clothing that we're going to be moving into. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Councilwoman?
Can you describe with a little bit more detail?
Ms. Spence, you're going to have to speak
I'm
up for
sorry.
me. I'm a disabled vet and I can't hear very well.
I'm sorry.
So either move your mask or speak up. I can't hear.
Can
I
you
read-
describe with a little bit more detail the numbers that we're looking at here? For example, you have X detainees at a time and you're purchasing this much material to cover those people. And I don't know what those numbers, because I know you have different sizes and different, but can you tell us a little bit more about how much you're purchasing vis-a-vis the size of your operation and kind of describe that for us?
How many, if I understand your question, how many people from out of county come in there?
No. For example, if I had a family with 2 children and I said I'm going to purchase 900 pairs of shorts, somebody might say that's a lot of shorts for 2 kids. What's going on, right? So, just in general terms, you said this should cover a good majority, but not all. Nick, can you just tell us sort of how you've sort of sized what you plan to order for $10,000?
So what we're going to be covering with this is enough to cover twice our population, which is about 19, and that's the maximum we have. Plus clothing change twice a day. We have showers at intake, so we have towels we have to use there. We have to delouse all the detainees when they first come in. So of course we use more towels there. The clothing we have now is orange. We're going to be going to navy blue. That's cheaper. I don't think it's as degrading, quite frankly, as wearing orange. So we don't have enough money to purchase a brand new uniform, sweats, socks, underwear, bra, shoes, for every, detainee, plus different sizes. We take detainees that are 85 pounds and 11 years old, all the way up to 18, 19 years old that are 6'3" and 285. And so we have to carry enough clothing that it will cover all those people. So quite frankly, it was a swag. We looked at the clothing we had, tried to figure out how many detainees, and then multiply that times 2. Things like that we would repeat a lot of, socks or undergarments or t-shirts, and then of course the towels. We got a lot of extra of those because of the new compliance standards with requirement to freshening up between PE and normal school. And then of course, this is our first purchase of this, so we're going to be phasing it in. So some of the orange will still be there, and then we'll see how much of the blue and new items we purchased. So we have bleached and unbleached laundry we do. Now we won't have to worry about that. We're not going to be having any white at all. So the socks are black or navy blue. The boxer shorts are navy. And so those, because the towels are brown. So we will be able to save money on laundering as well as the actual cost of the item. But this is just going to get us started. I'm sure that we'll be coming back before you if this isn't enough, but we think that this is good enough to handle. I've got a person that works, he's a supervisor that is kind of in charge of the inventory. And so we had a meeting, discussed it, and tried to figure out how much we needed to purchase based on usage. Did kind of an inventory count of what we had on hand with the stuff that we needed to replace pretty quickly. And that's where we came up with these initial figures.
Okay. Will that make things kind of easier for you all in terms of your operation with regard to the bleaching and not having to separate loads and that sort of thing? Just from to make things better for your staff?
Yes.
Really? Okay, good, good, okay. That's all I have.
You said this was your first purchase of any of this stuff since you've
I'm
been
sorry?
there? This is your first purchase of any of this since you've been director?
Yes. So, so when I first was hired in, kind of did an inventory of what we had. Noticed that from the pictures you can see, the socks had holes in them. And really, that's not just an issue that you and I would think, but it's actually kind of a medical issue. The floors in there are what they are. It's a jail, okay? And so we don't want the kids to get an infection or get some type of fungus, which is going to add to more bills later. There have been some studies done about that. So we need to get some socks that don't have holes in them. We need to get, underwear that's not torn or frayed, that's not old, that's faded. And so instead of just replacing those with the same old whites that are going to be, we're getting a little bit higher quality at a cheaper price. And so this is our first time making a big purchase and switching to the blue color.
I don't have anything further.
And this is our first appropriation from this non-reverting fund that we just established.
Who are you ordering the stuff from?
So the vendor we're using is Tabco.
Okay.
They're going out to different people and getting different things. I don't know, the towels come from one place. We used to order from a company called Bob Barker, which kind of funny, but they are a correctional supply facility. And so we gave a list of items we wanted to purchase, got a quote of how much those items were, per unit, and then compared it to what we were paying at Bob Barker. And probably out of 15 items we were going to purchase, 13 were cheaper with Tabco. So that's a local vendor, which I think is important that we, buy local and put back, the tax dollars back in our community. And what's great about this is this is money that was captured from non-reverting, strike that, from out-of-county detainees. So out-of-county, Park County, Putnam, Owen, Warren, they're buying this from local vendors to support the juvenile center. So this is really a win-win for us. We're able to use outside revenue to help purchase the needs that we have at the juvenile center using a local vendor, not a national chain.
Do you have that quote?
With me,
Well, will you have it by the council meeting?
of how much each of those items are?
Yes. Okay.
And the total, I mean, that would support the
Tuition
10th,
says.
the total would,
total, yes.
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't have anything further.
One question, just for frame of reference. I think I'm looking at this right. Calissa, I might need some help. I was just looking at what I think is previous year's information, and the 2019 total budget was 1,750. Adopted budget, 2018 was about, looks like $2,500. I'm just, looks like the 2020 requested budget was 4,000. So is that, can you give us just a kind of a frame of reference on how those numbers compare to what we're seeing here? I mean, this is sort of a total refresh, if you will, of your supplies, right? Of these materials, this clothing. So those might have been maintenance numbers, and then this is really trying to refresh everything. But can you give us just so we can sort of have that for
So
council?
the clothing you're talking about, the 1750, item 24500.
Is that not even the right line item? Okay.
Yeah, is that what you're talking about?
Okay.
So that is staff clothing.
Got it.
And
So
so
the-
that's what the uniforms, when we purchase, or equipment for the staff when they work. Detainee clothing, there's no real line item for it. So we purchase that from institutional supplies
Okay.
or from any place else we might be able to make that round peg fit in the square hole.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That has real meaning. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You have anything further?
That's it.
Would you like to make a motion?
Yes, I will make a motion to move ROC 20-026 for the Juvenile Justice Center, additional appropriation for institutional supplies, forward to the full council with the favorable recommendation.
I will second. We got a motion by Councilwoman Spence and a second by Councilman Thompson. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed. So we'll move this on to full council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. So is it,
Thank you.
all you want additional is then a
All I'm
quote
asking
of the
is-
material that
Yeah, the quote that you have, or that you can.
total,
You can get, yes.
right? Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next is ROC 20-029, building maintenance, additional appropriation for building repair.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Mr. Wright?
Thank you, Councilman Thompson, members of the committee. What you have before you is a printout from the county auditor's office reflecting the payments that have been made to Quality Plumbing and Heating, which is the primary reason, justification for the additional appropriation request that's before you. As you can see, the total payments that have been made to Quality Plumbing and Heating total $307,522. This was a issue that was brought about primarily by the malware attack in 2019, wherein the computer system that was responsible for the temperature control VAV boxes in the courthouse was rendered useless when the files were corrupted during the malware attack. And Quality Plumbing and Heating was brought in to essentially stopgap a solution to the temperature control problem at the courthouse, and then essentially rewire the entire building with new VAV boxes and a new control system that is not susceptible to the same sort of intrusion. When the courthouse was redone in during the 06 to 08 period, there were things that had to be done to make the project work in a building that's, existed there for over 130 years. So I'm happy to try and answer any questions. There is, just to give you an update on the malware claim, certain aspects of the claim with the insurance company have been settled. The issue surrounding the work that QPH has done on this project is not. So the attorney that I've been dealing with indicated to me during one of our conversations that he has been doing this, for several years in insurance, on behalf of insurance companies, primarily dealing with malware and cyber risk issues. And it was the first time HVAC system had been at issue in that claim. It's not typically something you think of when you're assessing risk from a cyber liability point of view. So we have provided his firm and the insurance company throughout this process billings, explanations as to why it was so urgent, given that the courthouse operates all the courts in this county, and it has to be open for business, and it has to be in a temperature controlled environment. So the status of that claim, we submitted a sworn affidavit, proof of loss for the amount that was reflective of the work that had been done, and the issue is whether or not they come back with any sort of negotiation, assessing that this work is going to, or that trying to find a justification for excluding this aspect of the claim. But regardless, Tommy's budget has paid these bills since beginning of 2020, and his budget is down to the point where he is not able to adequately plan for building repairs that most people know are going to come around one point or another. So the $210,000 is reflective of what he feels like is attributable to the upkeep of all the buildings for the remainder of 2020.
It's a little under $3,000 left of building repair. And I got a water heater gel that's on its last leg, and it's $17,000 for it.
So I think his original 2020 budget was in the neighborhood of $260,000. I don't think that at all anticipated the ongoing major project of rewiring that entire courthouse. So I think that's the reason that the budget line is where it is.
Councilwoman Spence, Burnett.
So the 210 is for things that you think you have yet to do, that you don't have money to do because you paid for this. So that's against an expected full year. The requested budget was 260, if I'm reading this correctly. So it's August. Can you describe for us, you mentioned one thing that's failing, but can you describe for us with a little bit more detail what you expect? I mean, with a budget of 260 and it's 8 months into the year, I wouldn't necessarily expect to have 60 or 70% of the budgeted projects left to do from here forward. I guess I almost, going to Councilman Thompson's question a couple of times now, do you have a project list or some kind of list that would show what you expect to do, or what typically you might find yourself doing in this last third of the year, or, yeah, third of the year, that kind of backs up the 210?
We got 5 units at community corrections that need heat exchangers in them, and it's about $10,000 a piece for new heat exchangers.
So that's 50,000?
Around 50,000 for the heat exchangers. Water heater, another 17,000.
Okay.
Got putting all new lighting in the jail, which the lights are $1,000 a piece. For the sag cells and stuff, that we have to have the lights up to code. Never know what's gonna break.
And I would just state, I don't think the number is so important as the fact that the budget is in a dire situation. I mean, 210 is meant to reflect the remaining portion that the insurance company required a sworn affidavit of loss.
Right, but that's, I
know
mean,
it's separate from, but so the county has submitted what should be the final aspect of potentially receiving that and putting it back into the budgets where it came from, but this was, 210 was put in there because that was the same number as the insurance claim that was submitted.
so I guess then my other question is, if we get that, does that will go back into this budget? If
No,
they,
if it were just,
Or this fund.
it would go into county
Expense this
general,
year, it will.
but
Right.
the council would, I think, be satisfied that, the money that it appropriated for the building maintenance budget was recovered through the insurance claim and placed back into county general, where potentially the additional appropriation came from.
right, so right now, so that's great. But right now, from my perspective, the question is, what do you need to get you out of the rest of the year? And we're 2/3 of the way through the year, so that's, we don't need everything. And you've detailed, I don't know what the light total was, but there was about $67,000 worth of things you already know you're going to be doing or should do. But we're still a fair way away from $210,000. Is this making sense?
Mhm.
So I would prefer to, I want you to have what you need to finish out the rest of the year, but I don't want to take money out and then just find that we've sort of reduced county general that could be used for other things, and we've got money sitting that won't be used in this allocation. So I was just wondering if we could be a little bit more directed with what we think we need for this allocation.
But the inherent nature of this specific building repair line item is you don't know what you're going to.
But we have many years of history, and I know things break, so I just don't know how.
Well, and I'm not saying that the point about justification is off point. I'm just saying to try and track it down to what he knows he's going to need today is also
Not possible.
not feasible.
Right.
And so
But-
I understand the point of 210 is a bigger percentage of his expected 2020 budget. I get that. I think is it fair to say, Tommy, that there have been projects that you have not done because you knew that this money was going out the door each day they were working in the courthouse?
Could we then ask for, I guess what I would ask then, by the time we get to council, is that we have those details, what you haven't been able to do, because this money was going out the door, the things that you still have ahead of you that you absolutely know about. And then I understand you've got to have some kind of comfort that you don't have to come back here, when in some kind of an emergency situation or can't react to something. So there's going to be some contingency to back up what we're doing here as opposed to the insurance piece, maybe, is what I would like to understand
That
or see more of.
that's not a problem.
Yes.
Listen,
On this that you gave us right here,
Mhm.
it's dated April 28th of 20, and
Mhm.
it shows that there's still a balance of 102,658. Has that been paid since?
I don't, I saw that AR, but it is, if you total up the numbers of the payments, that's the 307,522 and the bill.
Right, but
So-
it shows that at the time that this was printed, we'd only paid 204, almost 205,000, and that we still owed 102. Has that been paid in full now?
I would have to update this is from when we submitted the information to the insurance company. So it would be, do you know if that's been paid, Tommy?
I'm pretty sure we're all.
So the 210 is not 210 minus 103 that you owe, and you're anticipating 107 left.
No.
It's 210 for expenses between now and the end of the year.
That's right.
I just want to make sure that we didn't owe 103.
No.
do you have any more questions?
I don't.
I've got, so based on your 260,000 original budget, multiplying that by 12, you get 21,600. So for the sake of this, 21,700 for the next 4 months. Dividing this month into 2, you come up with $97,550. Does it make more sense to give you that amount now, and in November, December, you're seeing stuff that didn't get done that you couldn't do because you didn't necessarily have the money at the time because of this issue?
Look at why we do that.
But those projects would come out of that budget anyhow, correct?
Right, right.
As I said earlier, I don't think that's what the number is not so important as the fact that it needs to be replenished. And done so in a manner that hopefully carries through the remainder of the 2020 budget. Because it has been drained by the, bills in the, in looking at this, you're talking about a $22,000 a month budget in January of 2020. There's 60,000, 70, 44 plus 20, $71,000 in that month alone paid to quality plumbing and heating. So, yeah. So it was just a big drain early in the year for that.
Right off the
entire
bat.
money.
Well, I think that was,
Quality? Set.
Sure.
he's got.
It does look like you paid about 72 to 74 in 19
Yeah,
of that 300 and something.
And some of them still late, some of them we-
Councilwoman Smith, can I speak? In 2019, when this did happen, Commissioner Anderson is correct. They had to make several transfers out of Tommy's budget, those line items towards the end of the year to try to pay some of this bill down. Okay? And the way the state statute reads, on an insurance claim, once we are paid back from the insurance, they have 1 year. And to be honest, it's not calendar year. So it happened in August. If they got paid in August this year, we have the right to reappropriate that money. Now, we've tried to stick to in State Board of Accounts will send that to us every single time, 12 months from the time that it happened. So it doesn't have to be within your calendar year budget. It is 12 months from the time of the incident, the actual claim. However, we've tried to stick to budget to calendar year, which is part of the reason they're here, to keep it all clearer and more transparent to the fact that if they paid it out say if they paid it out in 19 and we received the insurance claim back in 19, we would have reappropriated that funding for them. However, it crossed years, okay? So what came back didn't really get reappropriated back into 20's budget. We didn't do that to make it clearer for the council to understand what's being spent. But by statute, we don't need the council's approval. The auditor has the right from 12 months from the incident. I have emails. I've been over this with State Board of Accounts. We have over and over and over. But we've tried to do it this way so that the council has a true, clearer picture of what's going on, especially when it comes to a big claim like this that we've had with the malware to try to track expenses. And so, I mean, it became a big issue because as soon as this happened, no one really had any place to start paying the vendors as all these bills were coming in. And well, I'm not sure why, but Tommy's budget's the one that got hit.
no, I mean,
So,
Yeah, and that got hit to take over to start paying these as those came in. So I just wanted you to be aware of the statute that is there that allows the auditor to do that, 12 months from that time period to reappropriate.
From the date of incident or the
From the
date
date
the
of
claim was
incident.
filed? So
The
that
date of-
happened in July of 19,
July of 19, yeah.
so you're over your 12 months.
We're over it now, but I'm making them clear that we have tried to always keep it within calendar year anyway,
Right.
to keep it clearer for them. But there is that, had it been paid back, we would have reappropriated it back into his line item. But it's taken so long, yes.
my,
HVAC, it's not, yeah.
And
Not enough.
what we received back, we could have appropriated back to his budget crossing years, but we didn't do that to keep it.
Yeah, I mean, there have been thousands of dollars that have been repaid, but those claims were from Edge IT or our IT department, and it was clearly cleaning up what, both the county and the sheriff's office suffered from. And the middle of last year. It's just this aspect of the claim has been questioned from the get-go, and, they view hundreds of hours of man labor rewiring a courthouse as a difficult, byproduct of a cyber risk issue.
Well, I think I understand at least part of that. I guess where I'm coming from is that you all have presented an amount to solve a problem, to address a gap.
Right.
And that gap can be perhaps somewhat defined in a way, but the choice was to bring us an amount that did not really relate directly to closing the gap. It was related to something else, and I would prefer to have more information on what is needed to assess or to really approve what's being requested. And it seems like that's doable. Again, my goal, I hope, is to say, I don't want you to operate and make choices that you don't want to make that provide or that may create different issues for the county. I want you to have what you need. What you've brought is not the most direct way to describe what is needed, and I have a difficult time approving that when it seems like there could be more precise information to back up what's being requested.
Some of this,
Well,
you're asking what else do.
okay.
Right.
I mean,
But there can be more detail put to what the request is.
We have a lot of projects.
so there.
We just need to get.
Right. So in my head right now, there's a list of projects, some of which you've mentioned, with approximate costs
Right.
that you still have, that you really want to do or really need to do. And then there are some things that we really haven't even described that haven't been done because you were busy paying for this. That's a list. Okay, so those two lists together, I will say that for this group of things, if they just can't be done before the end of this year, you might have more to do that's backed up than you can actually feasibly do by the end of the year, then that whole list is not what I need. It's whatever part could be done before the end of the year. So that to me would be the ask.
Okay.
Is that fair enough?
Makes sense.
So how on earth do we
Probably
want
just
to
make no
do the
record.
same thing we
Right.
just?
Yeah.
Okay. So I would like to make a motion that we move forward ROC 20-029, building maintenance, additional appropriation for building repair, forward to the full council with no recommendation pending more detailed information about the projects that need to be done, plus some contingency before the end of the year.
I will second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? This will move on to full council with no recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything further? If there's not anything further, I think a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.
Turn your mics off.